Did you tag me in the
one that's going on now? No.
Okay. So I just go to your page.
Yeah, so right to my page, it'll say live, and just share it. You see it?
Yep, I just shared it. Let me know before we go. Oh, this is what's on there now? Is this what's on the screen?
No.
Okay. Let me know before we go because I gotta put this away. My earring keeps getting caught on this microphone. You got walkie-talkies. Y'all running a whole operation over here, huh?
That's for my DJ gigs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, me and my
So you still DJ? You post?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I do a lot of private, events.
Oh, events, gotcha. Yeah, those are the best ones.
I'm doing the club stuff no more.
Right.
Unless it's like a private birthday party or kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing it for almost 20 years. So like I've been there, done that. Now I'm focusing on private events and
that's good.
Weddings, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Corporate events, all that good stuff. So yeah, I got 3 guys to work with me. So anytime we have certain events, I'll bring out the walkie-talkie so I can let them know about whatever.
Cool.
I'll have one for the client, so in case nobody look at a coordinator or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
we can all be in sync.
So you get some pretty good consistent money from what I've heard, doing weddings and birthdays.
Oh yeah. Good old word of mouth, like I saw you do this, I want you to do my event, or I want to refer you, all that good stuff. So.
Feel special. You brought out actual chairs.
Yeah. Now it was a wifey's idea on the chairs, and I was like, you know what? What I know wasn't. It was when I first did the show, I had a co-host with me, but she can't do it anymore because like she stayed in like freaking Wentzville, so like all the long drive.
Yeah, I saw that. The girl, the lady.
Yeah,
okay.
Countess. But she was like, because the first show we had was with Guy Tori, and we had those bar stools.
Right.
And she was like, my butt hurts.
So real furniture.
You know what? Would be a good look. Then the wife and I both been shopping and saw those chairs, and then we added some more chairs behind it. Then we got 2 more upstairs by a bedroom and a foyer. So yeah, we good to go.
Yeah, that's a good upgrade because I definitely thought I was gonna be on a bar stool.
Oh no.
Let me mentally prep for this.
All right. Make sure the audio.
Now let me know before you're live.
Oh yeah, I got it. Yep. Okay. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Smoooth Conversations, where the conversations are always smooth. It is I, your boy Smoooth, and that is Smooth with 3 O's. Make sure y'all go ahead and scan the QR code on the top right of your screen. Y'all see it right there? Yeah. Top right of your screen. Go ahead, scan it right now, and save Smoooth Productions as a contact. Anything and everything about Smoooth Productions will be on that QR code after you scan it. I am a professional DJ, MC, host, engineer, do podcasts, a drummer, Mr. Jack of all trades. And of course, I got this beauty right here as well, along with the sports talk show, the platform sports talk show. Been doing that for almost 8 years. So tonight it's going to be amazing. And also, I do customized apparel. So y'all need some hoodies, t-shirts, tank tops, whatever y'all need, and y'all want it professionally done and in a nice turnaround time. Get at your boy, scan the QR code. There y'all go. But tonight, y'all been seeing already how great Smoooth Conversation has been, because it's all about highlighting people who've been doing amazing things, not just locally, but globally. And tonight does not change at all. If y'all been seeing these past episodes, I have plenty of them for about 4 months now, from Guy Torrey to Tef Poe and Corey Black, and so many more coming up, even beyond tonight's show. But tonight, I'm highlighting a woman who I've known for, 20 plus years.
Stop dating me.
20 plus years. And we still look like we 20 some years old.
That's right.
I'm going to say that. I'm going to say that, okay? I'm going to say that right now. But as I put in the promo, this woman here, I had to just go ahead and just keep it 100, man. She's about standing on business. She's a boss. She's the perfect personification of when you say you're going to do something, she actually does it. And she has the degrees to prove it, while also being a mother. So tonight's guest, someone who I've once again known for many, many years, and our first time catching up in a long time, and look forward to having a great conversation with the one and only. The one and only. Now, she said this a while back. Don't call her Miss. Call her Dr.
Only at work.
Tiffany Patton. What's going on?
What's going on? What's going on? Thank you for having me tonight. I have seen some of the past episodes, and I am shocked that you asked me to be here. So
yeah,
thank you. I appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. I mean, like I said, 20 plus years, and we've always had a great civil, cool relationship. You know what I'm saying? And I got to go ahead. Well, first, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. You know, it was a little bit smaller than what it usually is, but we discovered this Martin game. My cousin Greg, who I'm sure you remember, he had a What's Up? It's called What's Up Trivia. Mm-hmm. And so it was just a lot more fun to play the game than what I thought it would be, because every trivia question triggered a memory of that episode. Yeah. And you know, Martin is just a classic. So it was good. The food was good. Ate more than what I should have. That's why I had to go to the gym today. But
work it on out.
Right, trying to.
So let's do one thing before we continue on. Let's go and take the transmitter and go ahead and just put it on the side of your jacket. Or
on the side of the jacket? Okay. Yeah.
Just have the clip to the side. We want to make sure that everyone can hear you. There you go. Put it a little bit higher up. There you go. And then just put and we in there. Good? Boom. There we go. I want to make sure everyone can hear you clearly, and we good to go. No issues. And for all those watching, please feel free to leave comments throughout the show. Now, I do monitor the comments before I show them. So, of course, make sure they're appropriate. But I have a feeling that everything's going to be great, because this show is all about giving flowers, man. You know what I'm saying? Why wait till it's too late? Go ahead and do it now. And that's what, this show is all about, is just giving the flowers. So you said Thanksgiving was all good. Yeah. So I got to tell the story.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah. I got to tell the story. Oh, now, first off, disclaimer, wifey, love you. You're amazing. And also thank you, because without you, this show wouldn't be as successful as it is, because she's sacrificing her time to allow me to do what I do, to bring people over to the house and everything. And, you know, some people may not be comfortable doing that.
That's right.
So I do want to acknowledge that my wife has trusted me and allowed me to use the gifts that God has given me to bless others and to have this show right now as well. But I said 20 plus years ago, right? So here's the story. My mom was appointed as a preacher at Brown Community in East St. Louis, in the hood, y'all.
Whoop, whoop.
In the hood. So one of the first times I go to the church, I walk in, I'm like, okay, you know, small, you know, little church, you know, whatever. Choir wasn't too big, you know, didn't have a drummer. I think he had a piano player. Then I looked up and I saw this red bone.
Wait a minute.
As the choir director.
He didn't preview this with me, just so we're clear.
And I'm like, who is that? Now, like I said, this is 20 years ago. So ain't like it's now. This is back then, before I was married. But transparency. But I'm like, who is this woman here? And then to find out later on that you were the same age as me, I was like, oh, snap. Look at her doing her thing. And that person was.
Who was that?
I wonder who that person was.
I don't know who that could have been. Woo, that was a long time ago. Those were the days, though. Yep. Drumming and choir directing and singing.
Yeah.
3-4 people in the choir, but we made it work.
Made it work. So just talk about that experience from, you know, being the choir director and holding things down at Brown Community at that time.
Yeah, I think, you know, as you mentioned, it was 20 years ago. So even though we look super young,
good.
I got to reach way back into that. But, you know, I always say, I feel like, and you can relate to this too, because even though, you know, I know you spent a lot of your time at Washington Metropolitan, you have had exposure to smaller churches. And even Washington Metropolitan is not considered like a mega church, but so you understand how it is in these church environments where you have to do everything. You got to learn how to lead committees. You got to learn how to serve as the president of the choir, and you 15 years old. I remember I started at Brown Community helping to balance the finances every Sunday. Back in after church would end, I would go back there. We would count in the office, and I learned a lot. It's about financial management, business management from that standpoint, because I started at 15. And so I think when I think back to that, I accredit a lot of what I do today in terms of leadership and the confident way in which I approach leadership to our upbringing, the way we worked in the church, and our parents made us work. And it was plenty of positions. It was VC, YC, just everything, all kinds of things that you could do, because we didn't have a lot of people, but we had the expectation that things got done. And so somebody had to step up and do it. And so I feel like I was exposed to a lot of things in terms of leadership and just learned a lot of skills early on because I had to work in a small church, and being a choir director is one of them. I would have never thought that I would be a choir director, but there was a need, and I was told, hey, you're going to do this. So it was like, okay, well, I guess I'll try. I've always sang in a choir because, again, you can't be in a small church and not do anything. So you usually do some of everything.
Correct.
So I'm like, okay, I can try this or whatever. And that's how that ended up going. But I honestly enjoyed that because I've always enjoyed singing in a choir, which is something I need to get back into now, you know, that I'm older, because we are talking about 20 years ago. But that was just more of the same, of having to fill a role because they needed somebody to do it. And we were used to just stepping out there and doing things and learning as we go. But I'm so glad that I was open to that, and I was obedient, and I was willing to step up in those roles, because I definitely think it laid the foundation for where I am today.
Yeah. Talk about being, because you and I have a lot of things in common that I realized. We're Scorpios.
Yes, Scorpio season.
We're Scorpios, but we're also PKs.
Yes, yep.
So just talk about from your experience being a PK.
Well, my mom, and probably also Reverend Saunders too, she didn't formally become a preacher until I was a bit older. So I was in my 20s. But prior to that, she was what they call the preacher steward, which is pretty much the right hand of the preacher. And she had been doing that for several pastors for probably the past 10, 15 years before she actually became a pastor. So that was kind of like all I knew was church, prioritizing church, late night runs to get drop things off to people for church purposes or collect money to pay bills and you got to go to the bank. And I mean, when I think about all the things that I learned and saw because I was so close to someone that was helping to run the church and manage the business of the church, it was a great experience. Not to mention the importance of the foundation that it laid spiritually, because all the things that happen in this world and in life in general, I don't know how people do it without God. And if there is nothing else that I'm more thankful for than knowing that I have God to go to. Because if I didn't know that, I don't know where I would be. I don't know what I would be doing by this point in my life. And so in terms of being a PK, I saw the spiritual part of it, but I also saw the pressure too, because my mom spent a lot of time doing church things, even to this day. It might be like pulling teeth to get her to go to a show, to get her to go do something that's relaxing. But if you say, oh, mother so-and-so needs you to come for communion or needs you to come pick up she's gone. It's like nothing to do.
You can't be like, oh, you know what? I'm watching football, so can I come back tomorrow and do? No, you have to be like, okay, yeah. And like you said, it's impossible to get to where you are and do what you do without keeping God first.
Absolutely.
So that's definitely a credit that I had to say in regards to my life being a PK as well, just being up in the church. You know how I used to go to church on Tuesday for Bible study, Thursday choir rehearsal.
We didn't even get into Tiffany Patton. We haven't even talked about them summer breaks where I was at Missionary Baptist prayer meeting at 10 o'clock in the morning. And I'm in like second grade and I'm seeing all these ladies that on the altar just carrying on. I'm like, what is happening? So that foundation absolutely is probably the best thing that has ever happened to me.
So pretty much you were a preacher steward / trustee member.
Absolutely.
And now that my wife, she's a preacher, she's a stewardess, and I am a trustee member. So like, now I'm seeing the behind the scenes.
Yes.
I'm saying now that I used to, before.
Yep.
So I get it. I definitely get it. And but once again, it's not possible without God. With that being said, it's also important to remind ourselves that what we do in the church is for Him.
Absolutely.
And I think sometimes people take, the role of whatever they have at the church, and they forget the reason why they do it.
Absolutely. Or even more, people forget that there are roles that you need to take.
Right.
There is work that has to be done. And I get what you're saying too. You got to remember to yield to the hand of God, because sometimes you are anointed to work in a certain capacity in the church, and then that is gone. It's time to move and do something different, or let the next generation or let the next set of leaders come in. Because like I did mention, the church is a significant leadership training ground. I just, having to do the announcements every Sunday, they gave me speaking skills that I didn't know I would need until I later then became a principal and had to talk in front of many people, and went to college and had to deliver speeches and do things like that. But all of these things, I had experienced and been exposed to. But I think it's also In this day and age, we do live in an environment where everybody wants kind of like micro church.
Yeah.
Like they want to check in and out or click in and out and, grab the sermon and then I'm gone. And they may give some money and you'd be surprised how much people blow that out of proportion. Like, I wonder where my money is going, blah, blah, blah. But we don't scrutinize all the other ways we spend money like that. But that's a whole nother story I won't get into. But I do feel like these days it's still hard to find people, even in large churches, who understand that you do need to step up and do some work. There is a reason why you're in the church and in the fivefold ministry. You have a part to play in figuring out what is the way that you will minister to people, because that has to be a part of the experience too. It's not just about going to get what you can get, because you can get a word from God at home. The church is really about ministry.
And then something that also has affected the church over the last few years has been COVID.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It has devastated, especially for the small churches. I know my mom's church, they're still working to repair damage that was done to their building during COVID. Because, as you mentioned, the church is in East St. Louis. And so during COVID, they weren't having church in the building. And unfortunately, people took that as a sign to just start picking things off the church and removing this and doing this and doing that. And so the pandemic has had a really devastating impact, and even on bigger churches too, because people have just gotten comfortable with not having that fellowship. And I'm saying it from a point of me too. Like, I've had to push myself. No, I need to get back into being in church every Sunday. I need to actually join a church. I need to be present. I need to start serving and volunteering in some capacities, because it really did become, especially during the pandemic, a thing where it's like, oh, okay, it's all about me. I'm going to click in, watch this sermon, make myself feel better, and then I'm out and I'm done until the next time I want to click in and watch this sermon. And so, yes, churches have struggled, but I will say the church that I've joined last year, no, I'm at the beginning of this year. I had been going for a year before I actually joined. We have new people joining every week. I think last week we had 30 new people join. So people are starting, there's a revival happening. People are starting to come back to what we know we used to do and what we grew up, what we were taught to do.
Right. Yeah, I would say the same thing with the Met, especially now that we have a new pastor. Shouts out to Pastor William Johnson. Yeah, definitely got to come on by.
I will.
But it's like we slowly are seeing certain things go back to what they used to be. You know what I'm saying? So I see, both sides of the congregation, the pews, starting to, slowly to fill up. Yep. Seeing the top starting to fill up a little bit more. Going back to like the simple things of just having like both programs again. Because like for a minute, we didn't have programs during that time because we were trying to just get back into the church. But now he's bringing that back. He got some more thing that is coming up very soon for the church that we're going to be doing. But it's slowly, and we're finding ways to bring new members in too.
Yeah.
So that's going to be big. And also just being part of the community and, putting your face out there more too. But so COVID definitely has changed a whole lot of things. And like I always say, it's all about adapting, because you can't keep on doing the same thing that you used to do before COVID. That's just how life is nowadays.
I mean, you can, but you shouldn't.
Right. Because you're not going to progress.
Do the same thing. Right. You're right. There's no progress.
Right. Yeah. So you have to adapt. You have to evolve, because once again, COVID has changed so much.
It has.
Yeah.
It has.
It has changed so much. So if you're not familiar, you know that I'm big on moments here on Smoooth Conversations. So we want to have some fun with this.
I don't know what's about to happen.
She has no idea. And every guest I have, they had no idea. But when you see this photo, what would you tell this person right here?
You had to reach way back into the vault for this, because I don't even remember. Oh, what was this? Maybe second grade? Huh. What I would tell that person was stop getting suspended from school. That's what I would say.
So you was that kid?
It wasn't self-defense.
What had happened
Self-defense was always I was great with my teachers, except that one teacher, the fourth grade teacher. She was really, really, really mean. I was great with my teachers. It was the kids. But I don't know. That's a good question. I think I would tell that person that it's okay to be proud of yourself, because I have done some things since that age that I didn't know if I was going to be able to do at that age. And while there's still, don't get me wrong, there's still a lot that I would like to accomplish and get done. I think I think I've made that person proud.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No glasses on at the time.
I could see then.
So like what year was it, if you recall, or what grade, when you realized, like, you know what, mama, I might need some glasses?
So
something
it's
ain't right
so
here.
funny that you asked, because there is a story behind that. So and this could be or could not be true, because my mother does wear glasses. So it could be genetic, but this didn't happen for me until like 8th grade, middle school. And I believe it was because I had a friend. She's still my friend today. I talked to her, Crystal Moore. She had some really cute glasses in 8th grade. She never would wear them, and she needed them. They were prescription. But I saw them and I was like, oh, those are so cute. And there was some boy at our school that I thought was cute. I can't even remember who it was now at this point. But I was like, I think this will make me look cuter, because he wore glasses. So I was like, I wear these glasses. And so it became a thing. And I wore them for like a couple months. And then I decided, okay, I'm tired of wearing these, because they had a little bit of a prescription in them. So I was like, it's actually not comfortable wearing these glasses, even though I thought it was cute. And then the next thing you know, they did the vision test at the school, and the people was like, well, you need glasses. And I was like, what? And I was like, yeah, you would benefit from having glasses. So I didn't get my first pair of glasses until I was like 14. And then I think I started wearing contacts at like 16, 17-ish. But yeah, I was that old before I needed glasses. And so I don't know. In my mind, I attribute it to the foolish decision that I made to wear prescription glasses. But it could have been something that I would have had to do anyway, because my mom does wear glasses.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I thought that I may have to wear glasses because, like, my grandparents wore glasses. My mom did. I think my uncle may have. He lives in Atlanta right now. I thought I would, but I've been blessed to not have to worry about glasses. I feel
like you just bragging right now.
I'm just saying. Now, one thing that I wish that I would have gotten from my folks, my family, like my mom, etc., is singing. Like, I can't sing. You can try to pay me $1 million. I can't do it. But my mom,
really, I didn't know you couldn't sing.
No, I couldn't sing.
That's how you got out of being in the choir.
I can't sing. But as you know, I'm a drummer and everything, and that's something that I learned just off of, no lessons, no anything. Nice. Self-taught. But singing, it just never came to me. Now, my wife, she can sing as well. Amazing. Okay. Her mom can sing, but no, that singing gene never came to me. It was other aspects that came to me, but singing was not one of them. They can't play the drums,
so it's okay. You got one.
Right. So it balances things out. You know what I'm saying? So, but going back to these photos, because like I said,
there's more. Oh boy.
Oh yeah. So talk about this young lady right here. And that look you had.
This is so embarrassing.
And the pose that you had.
Senior pictures.
And and tell everyone what school you went to.
Of course, the best school in the city of St. Louis.
Oh Lord.
Gateway Institute of Technology. I don't care what they calling it today.
Right.
Gateway Institute of Technology, home of the Jaguars.
Whatever. Talk about the best. The best school and
the best.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
But yeah, so talk about this photo and what was going on in your mind when you took this photo. Like, were they saying smile? You like, nah, I ain't doing it, or
You know what? I was probably on my 100th pose by then and trying to figure out, well, what else can I possibly do? Because I do remember I had 3 different outfit changes. And this was at like Olin Mills studio. This was back in the day. We didn't have real photographers that would take us out to like local places around and do these wonderful photo shoots. We just went to the studio, did the little package. And so that's what that was. I think I did those pictures probably the winter of my senior year, wintertime-ish. And it was exciting. I tell people all the time, I loved high school. It was the perfect balance of I don't have to pay no bills, but I get to leave the house and I get to do stuff. I have a pretty good amount of freedom. I had the cool mom. You know how you have people in high school and you have ranges of mamas. You got the mama that be tripping. You got the mama that don't, you got all these different types of mamas. And you got the friends who got the cool mama. So I had the cool mama. She would always let me get her truck. And so on weekends, we would, because again, she was very heavily into the church, and still is. So on evening times, she wasn't doing nothing. She was in the house. So if it was something happening, we used to go down to the riverfront. I was the driver. I had the
those
car.
were the days. Those were the days.
And in that particular year, I had more credits than I needed to have to graduate. So I got to leave school like probably I think it was about an hour or 2 hours before the actual school day ended. And so it was a really cool, my senior year was everything. Until it was time to go to college. That's when everything went crazy.
Went crazy, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
Crazy.
Now we all know that, even myself included, that we always have these photos. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, different poses. So when I saw this one, I was like, oh, I gotta show her this one.
Oh Lord. Where did these pictures from? And who I need to pull up on tomorrow? Please let me know. Because that's the no. Oh my God. I remember that haircut. That's got to be freshman year in high school. I think that's what that is. I remember that haircut. Thought I was doing it because I had the short hair at the top and the long hair.
You know what the hairstyle remind me of? Not saying that you ever went there, but it reminded me of Freaknik.
Now it sounds like you have a story that you need to tell.
I have not been there. I'm putting out there now.
Hair as the Freaknik hairstyle.
But I saw the Hulu documentary, and a lot of hairstyles
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, it was interesting.
That was popping at that time. That was fresh. That was considered, the look.
You know, that and wearing Eastlands and everything back in the day.
Yes, I just saw a post the other day about Eastlands and heel figure sweaters. I was like, man, things were so simple back then.
Yeah. Fun time. Like you said, being young and, pretty much carefree because, you didn't have to worry about responsibilities at that time.
Yep. And there was no such thing as social media.
Right.
So you didn't have all of this tension, people jumping on there, bullying each other. It was a really cool time. I felt like I was able to still be young, but have some freedom. Yeah.
So you mentioned being in the choir. When did you start singing?
When I started putting syllables together, I can't even remember. It wasn't a choice. They just put you in a choir. You know how that goes. So I know I started in the kids choir. Okay, all
right. Now this pose here was like, I'm about to get every boy that comes my way.
Senior pictures, yes.
That pose right there was like straight confidence. It wasn't like the first one that we saw. This one came out like,
I'm gonna be grown today.
Yes. I'm about to show out.
So that was like, so I had on a skirt and everything. Back in that time for us, that was like out of the norm, because at that time, during those days, girls, we dressed like boys because they didn't have
right
heel figure for women. They didn't have Nautica for women then. And if we wanted to wear the name brand stuff that the guys was wearing, we had to wear y'all clothes. And so I just thought, because I was in a skirt and I had a little fitted top on, I was like, oh yeah,
about to kill
I'm
him.
about to take it over. Because that wasn't how we dressed. That was just not what we did. And some girls did. I'm not gonna say we did have like rainbow and 357 and all of that. But I came up more so around that time of, you gonna wear like the polo sweater I had. You gonna wear polo, it's gonna have to be big and oversized. If you're gonna wear heel figure, same thing.
And then it takes me back to like the days of the St. Louis Center.
Yes.
Northwest Plaza.
God. Man. I put a post up the other day about, because they're doing a demolition now on Chesterfield Mall.
Right.
And I was like, man, when malls start failing in affluent communities, it's a wrap. And I was just like, man, I can't believe it's a sadness to it, because that was like all we needed.
It was our childhood.
Yes. Meeting up at the mall, that was everything. You got to get numbers. You met people. Plus, you did a little bit of shopping. Right. You felt like you had some freedom because you could go with your friends.
I mean, it was to the point that you legit went to the mall not to even worry about shopping. You just wanted to see who was
hang out. Yes. Yeah. And it was cool. Like, we didn't have, there would sometimes be a escalated security presence.
But it wasn't all the time. No.
But we didn't have any issues. It was like it would be a lot of teenagers in the mall on the weekends, and it was cool. We was not getting into fights. We was not bringing guns. It was nothing like that. We was literally all just hanging out and chilling. And so, unfortunately, things have taken a turn in our society and our culture where I think a lot of parents don't feel safe anymore letting their kids go and hang out at the mall, because a lot of kids are making, real dangerous decisions at a very young age, and it's creating this environment where people are like, we're good. And I think that's contributed to some of the failure that we see in the mall. Plus, just, it's so easy to shop online. Yeah. It's just so easy to shop online, and you get better deals and all of that.
So I asked you about singing, because I'm pretty sure this moment right here.
Please, not a video. Oh, Jesus.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No video. No video. But I do have this right here.
This is so embarrassing.
Up next on Star Search, we have Miss Tiffany Patton. Back in the day,
and
Star Search.
Who knows what I was doing? I don't think I was singing. So, okay, this may be hard to believe, but I was the kid who would, at the family reunions, dance all night for the adults. And entertain the adults. And the adults would be like, go Tiff, all night. I was that kid. So that's what you see here. This was a family reunion. I can't remember. I feel like we were in Atlanta, either Atlanta or Toronto. I can't remember exactly. But we used to do really big family reunions. Of course, my aunt being the planner that she is and just the visionary that she is, she would be the one to help coordinate and lead a lot of those family reunions. But we would travel every year for our family reunion. This was back when it was like really kicking. And every year it would just be a lot of fun. We would be out of town. We'd be at this hotel. And every Saturday night at the family reunion, we would have dinner and a DJ and a party. Mm-hmm. And so I lived for those moments. I couldn't wait to go to the family reunion so I could dance all night on the Saturday night party.
See, now it makes sense, because that's pretty much how she has been doing her adolescence years as well.
I love music. I love dancing. I love all. Yes. And I started as a kid. And so it's really authentic for me, when I go places, because I am out a lot and I go to a lot of places. I go to a lot of events. That's just my nature. I love music. I love being around people. I just love that energy and that environment. And it started at that age. Yep. Who knows what I was on the microphone doing? I have no idea.
So we went through the youthful years of Dr. Tiffany Patton.
Yes.
What made you get into teaching?
Who gave you these pictures? This is such an important picture because this was my very first year teaching in Riverview Gardens. And what's crazy is I'm back in that same district now. And the last time I walked in that building, it's crazy the full circle moment I experienced. I'm like, man, this is literally where I started teaching in 2007. And like, I literally am able to go right back to that building, that same classroom, everything right now. But hey, Dixie. So the story behind that is an interesting one. I changed my major. As I said, I went to Gateway Tech, and Gateway Tech is a math and science school.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, when we were in high school, that was when the tech boom was really starting. And they were really pushing, you want to make money, you want to have a great adult life, go into the tech industry, go into the tech industry. So, you don't have to convince me. I'm like, yep. So what I'm going to do, what I need to do with tech, because that's where the money's at. That's where I'm going. And so I majored in computer science in high school, thought I was going to do the same thing in college. But as I kind of previewed, senior year was great until it came time to go to college. That was a whole mess within itself. And so with the mess that came about of like picking college and figuring out where I was going to go and some changes happening at the last minute, I decided to keep my major as computer science. Wasn't working out for me. The way that I was learning programming in high school was not the same as it ended up being in college.
It's a whole different world, yeah.
It went from being in just like a regular classroom with a teacher who's like circulating around while you're writing code to being in a lecture hall with somebody like way down at the podium. It's like 100 other people in here. And I'm like, I don't think I like this anymore. And so I changed schools, and then I decided I was going to do network administration. Mm-hmm. I was going to approach it from that perspective. Started taking the classes for that, and I was like, I don't like this either. So at that point, I'm like, man, what am I going to do? And I had even been advised to just get a job. Like, well, maybe you should just quit school and just get a job, because you can always get a job and make money.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I feel like I'm supposed to go to college. I just don't know what. So I prayed. I did like a week of fasting and praying. And it came to me that I needed to be, that's what God revealed to me. You need to be a teacher. And so I listened. I changed my major. And everything just took off from there. Like when I aligned myself to what my purpose was, what I was designed to do, just all kinds of success started rolling in. I was receiving scholarship awards. I was a senator, student senator at UMSL. Had lots of opportunities that I was exposed to, just all kinds of success after having experienced so many different years of discontentment and just disillusionment, because I'm like, I'm not enjoying these classes. I'm not enjoying school. What is going on? And so that's how I got where I am today. It was literally, I listened to what God led me to do, and it was a struggle.
Yeah.
It took me a while.
And I saw something in your bio, and maybe it was something you had on social media a while back, but you wanted to pretty much make it a point that education needs to, it's so critical, especially for our community. Why is that? And please explain if you don't mind.
Man, so I said I went into education. Even with going into education, there's lots of different paths you can pick. You can pick to work in or seek to work in a district that has a higher socioeconomic status population, or you can go private school, or you can go expensive private school, or you can go religious school. It's a lot of different choices that you have to make. You have to determine what population do I really want to serve? And that's where you seek your jobs. And that was important to me. I didn't just go looking for a job so that I could work. I selected and developed a passion for working in communities with students who look like me, who had similar socioeconomic status is coming up, who has similar family structures and all of that. And with that, though, comes a lot of weight. A lot of weight, because there's a lot of what would I say? There's a lot of injustice that happens in the schooling, and not just the schooling. It's services. Period. For people who live in impoverished communities or high minority communities, we see all of the statistics that point to just the deficits and the lower quality, how much people in those communities are underserved, and so all of that shows up in the school system, and probably more significantly in the school system, because as you know, we live in a country that was designed for Black people to not be successful, and we're working our way out of that. But it's a journey that we're still on all of these years later. But because of the way that is designed, you have situations where minority students and families are pushed into communities where the services are not where they should be. The socioeconomic status is not where it should be to command voice and power and control that needs to be present. And because of the generational gap, the awareness and understanding and knowledge of how to even advocate for a better school system is missing, or even what does that look like, that's also missing. And so when you go into education, that is the important piece, because it's kind of like the way out. Because once you know better, and once you have a mind that can think critically, once you have a mind that is functional, able to read, able to write, able to compete with all of the others out there, it puts us as a community in a position to then solve our own problems and come up with our own solutions. But if we lack that level of knowledge that we need to kind of pull some of these things, pull ourselves out of some of these things, some of them we can, some of them we can't. But there are things that I know for a fact we could solve ourselves in our community that we're not. And so having to grapple with that every day is a weight that comes with that, because of the way the system is designed. But it has to happen. I can't just step out of the arena because there is discomfort with it. People have to be willing to show up and do the work. And so at this point in time, it's still a passion for me, because I just believe that education was a game changer for me. And I want to make sure that other children like me have that same ticket. I chose to take my ticket and bring it into the field of education. But our kids are brilliant and intelligent enough. They can do whatever they want to do. If they want to go to Silicon Valley, they can do that. If they want to be doctors, they can do that. If they want to be police officers, they can do that. But just knowing that they have the education to choose is why I do what I do. And it's hard, because I can say too many of our kids don't have the choice.
And I was going to bring that up, because how disheartening is it for you being a teacher, educator, principal, through your, how many years would you say total you've been teaching and being a principal, being in the education system?
This is my 18th year.
So I know you've been through a lot, seen a lot. Yep. So how discouraging is it that we're seeing, like, you went to public high school, but you're seeing like the Sumner's gone, Beaumont's gone, but Shine now is just so much bad press about what's going on with teachers in general, and how they're complaining about they having to work, worry about their safety, or getting overworked, not enough teachers, just a lot going on in the school system. So how discouraging is it for you, and what do you see can happen, if anything can happen going on here in St. Louis, that can make things better for teachers and for educators?
That's a heavy question. Oh man. I will say the struggle was already real, right? Before the pandemic, the struggle was already real. Being in systems where the resources are lacking, because there's a lot of, I can go down a list of things that are a barrier in certain school districts, high minority, high poverty school districts, that are not also issues in your Claytons, your Ladues, or even your Parkways, such as the high teacher turnover rate. Developing a teacher and then they walk out the door when they're starting to get to a master level, and now they're teaching in Lindbergh or they're teaching somewhere else. That creates a constant revolving door and a constant churn. We were struggling as a field of educators to address that. And to me, that was one of the things that was undermining the quality of education the most that our children were receiving, because we saw this constant pattern of people come into our schools and our districts to get their first jobs, because we constantly have openings. And so it's easier, if you want to get a job in those types of districts than it is to get a job in somewhere like Clayton at that time. Now it's getting a little bit more easier because they're having some of the same issues with teacher turnovers, because teachers just en masse have left education after the pandemic. But prior to that, it was already an issue at the school that I know that I was a principal at. We struggle with that a lot, and that it was a real burnout factor, constantly having to rehire teachers every year and then retrain them to make sure that they have the skills that they need to meet the needs of our students, because you have sometimes novice teachers and then you have the students with the most need. And I did my doctoral research on this, and when we get our students in kindergarten in high poverty school systems and high minority, and it's not always about minorities either, because I see some of these same patterns in rural school districts where it is predominantly Caucasian, but they're high poverty. So a lot of it is poverty is the culprit. But when you have students that come into kindergarten in these types of environments, they're already on average 1.5 to 2 years behind their counterparts in the affluent school districts. So our kids a lot of times come to us already lacking vocabulary, language acquisition, language development skills. And we're automatically from day one, instead of being able to just bring them in the door, love on them, get to know them, get to nurture them, I got to catch you up. You're behind. You don't know your letters. You don't know your sounds. And we're just constantly pumping information into them. And then you pair that with a teacher who is a novice teacher and doesn't actually have the capacity to teach well yet. It's a bad combination. Yeah. And so then you spend all of your time investing in that teacher to help them become a good teacher, and you build systems around them. They do a great job, and then the next thing you know, they're gone. And now you have to rehire another teacher. And so one solution that I've seen for that is what they kind of like the way they approach teacher development and their education system in Uncommon Schools. That's the charter school network. They are mostly on the East Coast, and some of their schools on the East Coast have mixed results. But the ones that are in New York City have the strongest continuity in terms of performance. And the way that they approach education is they build these systems around how people teach, so that when you come in the door, they're going to automatically teach you how to teach. They build structures so that it's not a question of, can this teacher write a good lesson plan? You're going to give the teacher a good lesson plan, and your job is then to just make sure the teacher follows and teaches that lesson plan. And so that addresses some of that turnover that happens, that makes us very dependent on the quality of the teacher, when we know it's a revolving door and we got to get people in the door. So we're not always hiring the best of the best, unfortunately. So building systems around what people are given and how they're able to just step into the role and perform like a good teacher is really critical in our types of environments, the type of environments that we work in or that I work in, because it helps to kind of sort of guarantee that even if the teacher leaves in 2 years, the good lesson plans are still there. The good teaching techniques are still there. The coaching system is still there, so that you can take a teacher who's never taught before and turn them, and I've done this when I opened a charter school in St. Louis City. We took people who were not professional educators at all. They didn't have education degrees. They just had to have some type of college degree. Mm-hmm. It could have been in anything, English, communications, didn't matter. But we took people who did not have education backgrounds, and we created systems to teach them how to teach. And you could go in some of their classrooms and you would never know. They could have out-taught people with formal education backgrounds who've been teaching 5-7 years because the structures were in place. The reason why that's not just an accepted solution, because you would think, okay, there is an answer out there. So everybody, let's just do this, right? Let's just do, because this is what's working, right? Let's just do this. There is a lot of pushback around people telling teachers how to teach. And so there's this tension between teacher autonomy and teacher development, teacher training. There's a tension there. And I see that tension create a lot of deficits for schools and for students. So I don't even remember where we started, but hopefully that somewhat answers the question that you have. But that's why I said that's a heavy question, because it's a lot.
Yeah. And is there a certain moment that sticks out to you as a teacher or educator when you knew that you may have made a huge impact in the student's life?
Yes, absolutely. There's several, thankfully. And that's why I do what I do. With the stress that comes with it, if I didn't see the impact, there's no way I would be able to stay in the field. And when I get in positions where I can't see the impact, it's a problem for me, because it's not just about money or status or title. If I can't see the impact, because that's the only reason why I'm here. Like I literally said, this is what God told me to do. It's not what I picked, because there's not enough money in it. If I would have my way, I would be somewhere working in tech and doing something different, probably making a good $100,000 more than what I could ever make in education. So if I can't see the impact, I'm going to automatically start looking for something else to do, because I can't, it's not feeding me. But I think if I had to pick one particular time, I think that there have been several, but what was really key for me when I had been moved to Granite Elementary, or I was able to get that job in Hazelwood, that was my first like standalone principalship. The principalship before that, I was more like a co-principal. So myself and the other co-principal, we had a great working relationship, and that was just like the Mecca. Like I don't think I've had an environment that I worked in where the leadership team was so gelled together before as that one. And so I knew it was time, okay, I've been to the mountaintop. That was great. That was fun. I know I got to go back to the trenches where the work is. And so I'd gotten that job, and it was my first like real opportunity to stand on my own. And it was, at that time, Granite was the lowest performing school in the district of 32 schools. It was considered a focus school. So it was under a lot of district oversight. But that first year that I was there, the test scores from the previous school year were released. And I found out my first year being principal there, we were now going to be under state oversight. So I had someone coming from DESE to my school. I was getting ready to have someone coming to DESE to my school every month to check on the status of the school and make sure we were progressing. So all of that happening the first year, plus me just trying to figure out how to go into an environment where everyone has already been hired. My previous principalship, we were opening that school. So we hired everybody ourselves. And so, like I said, it was kind of like it was a high point, but it wasn't a reality. But this was the reality. And so I was overwhelmed with like all of these things, but I knew that the school had been in a decline, particularly in the area of mathematics, for 5 years consistently. And so in my mind, I said, if I don't do anything else right this first year, I have to move these math scores. They have to go up. We can't, because it's 5 years of consistent decline. And so I did some things. I led a lot of the weekly data meetings myself around math. That was a target. It was a focus. But still, I'm not knowing if anything is changing. This is my first year as a principal there. We hadn't even had the MAP scores back until like halfway through the school year. And then I'm finding out, oh, you guys are state supervised school now. But at the end of that year, I just remember we had growth. We had significant growth and gains in math, and that was the area that we had focused on. And even though we didn't find out to mid-year that we were now under state supervision, we were the only school that was under state supervision in our district that actually met growth targets that we didn't even know we had until halfway through the school year. And so I just remember feeling like I had changed the trajectory for the first time for a whole group of 400 students. And that was the first time I had really done anything like that. A lot of the previous work was just like my classroom or maybe a grade level or two. But in that moment, I just remember feeling like, okay, yes, impact is what I need. I have to be able to experience changing outcomes for children who have been exposed to failure.
Yeah. And what would you say has been the biggest shift in your eyes over the 18 years of education that you've seen in students from when you first started to what you're seeing now? Because students are totally different now. They're more rebellious, or I'm gonna just act out whatever, the lack of respect that you're seeing nowadays compared to maybe when you first started. Talk about that. But that look in your face, like, woo.
Because that's a really heavy question. I'm gonna try not to get emotional because yes, I've seen a significant shift in students, and they are apathetic towards school. But I feel like a lot of that is because students are tired and more vocal about their frustration of showing up at schools that are not fulfilling to them, don't celebrate them, isn't affirming, they don't see themselves in the school, they don't see themselves in the curriculum, and not feeling valued. And so when I think about, I know a lot of, but I would even say what we see in society and the disrespect that we see in society towards education now. In my personal opinion, there's some, society in general has, to me, morally, there's been a moral decline. I think social media has a lot to do with that, but I also think we now have generations and generations of people who have been in schools where they have been promoted to the next grade and they can barely read, or they've graduated with high school diplomas knowing that they're not, you can't perform on the 12th grade level, or they've been in school systems where they've been suspended so much that they're not interested anymore.
Right.
And I think at this point, we've had so many, now we're talking about the students that are sitting in our schools, their parents used to be sitting in those schools experiencing those same frustrations. So they don't care about school. They don't care about education because they felt the disconnect, and possibly even their parents' parents. And so I feel like we are dealing with generations and generations of people who feel like school has failed them, like education has failed them.
And it's a bad cycle that's going through. Like you said, from the mother or father who went there, and then their people's.
Yes. And what we need to figure out is how do we reform and reclaim our schools so that our kids, we know academically They're not being served in the way they need to be. Not saying that all the schools are terrible, kids aren't learning anything. That's not true. People are showing up and teaching, kids are learning. However, for them to be competitive with their other counterparts, there's a significant gap. There's always been a gap. And most of my education career has been addressing the achievement or opportunity gap and trying to eradicate that. But the layer of frustration that hangs over all of our heads it's still there. It's still there.
And then also it sucks that a parent wants to have or give their kid the best education, but may not be able to afford to take that student to a certain school. So then it may make the parent feel like they're cheating their own kids from having a better education as well. Cause my wife was bringing it up a while back, like, you know, she was telling me that she preferred not to really have her own child because of how life is now. How you have to pay so much just to have your kid have a decent education. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then, like you said before about like the Clayton district and the public schools, and it shouldn't be just all out in the open that you can tell, oh yeah, you can tell that this person went to Ladue, or you can tell this person went to Marquette compared to this person went to Sodan, or this person went to, you know what I'm saying? And that has to be a huge issue that has to hopefully in some time can change, because students should be able to go to the city and be like, I'm still getting the best education.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. The answer cannot be just move to a better neighborhood. If we took all the issues that we face in high poverty school districts and just moved all the kids to Clayton, guess what would happen? Clayton wouldn't have the same scores that they have today. And so we know this data shows that when you are living in poverty, or when people are growing up in poverty, there's a lot of different ways that negatively impacts their life, which then trickles over into education. There's even, so when I did my dissertation, a book that I centered a lot of my research around was Eric Jensen's Teaching with Poverty in Mind. And it talks about in that book how poverty has such a significant impact on children that it literally changes their brain development. They took brain scans of children who were in high socioeconomic status homes, and then children who were in impoverished homes. And they could clearly see the difference in the gray matter that was developing in one brain versus the other. And that's where your short-term memory is built. Short-term memory helps a lot with education, because you got to lock things into your short-term memory that your teacher is presenting to make it to your long-term memory. And so if I'm a child that's living in an impoverished environment and I don't have the same amount of gray matter in my brain as another child, it's going to take different strategies and more for me to learn than it will for the other person. And I can promise you, if we overwhelm any other education system with children who are having that disconnect and they need a different type of instructional approach just because of what they've been exposed to with poverty and trauma, you will see the same issues. You will see the same issues, because as a whole, we have to, in education, reform and reimagine how we approach teaching, because it is not this classical way that a lot of the things that we do today we've been doing the same thing for 20, 30, 40 years. And it is not serving our kids. And I think a lot of what we get from students in environments is that they are tired of the disconnect. It's like we're doing school to them instead of with them. And I think we're at a point now in society where that part has to change.
Yeah.
And I think the teachers are tired of doing things the same way. That's why they're leaving out the back door in record number. And then the students are tired of the same stuff. That's why they're not coming to school. Attendance is a huge issue in a lot of these school systems. or they're coming to school and they're disconnected. They're not engaged. And so everybody's, I believe, frustrated with the lack of progress, lack of change. The question is, when are we going to make the radical decisions and become uncomfortable?
Right.
Stop protecting the status quo and make the changes that need to be made. And I'm going to take it a step further. It's hard to get people to do that when your salary is on the line.
Yeah.
And the people that need to make those decisions, they make some pretty good money. And so that's one of the challenges as well, because you're asking someone to deprioritize their livelihood and deprioritize their income, their safety net, to make decisions to change and overhaul some things that they don't know if it's going to work or not. And it could end your career.
Yeah.
So it's safer to just continue to do things as everybody else is doing them, because at least you can hide behind, well, this is what everybody else is doing.
And then it go back to the church and how we were saying how certain roles you have to remember the reason why you're doing it. Same thing applies to educators and principals and whoever else, is that you're doing it because you want these kids to succeed.
Right.
And we had to remember that.
Yep.
So that's been the principal, the educator, the teacher side of Dr. Patton. And speaking of doctor, I said before how you're like the one of the greatest examples of when you do things. Oh yeah, she be holding things down. Shout out to her. And please feel free to share this stream.
So she used to be my AP.
That's what's up. So yeah, share this stream. Let's get even more people tuned in, because it's been a great conversation thus far. Mm-hmm. But going back, I gotta say in the promo and everything about you set a goal, you do it. And I don't think there's like one degree out here in this world that she hasn't
whatever
accomplished. But talk about moments like this and the problem that you was able to have for yourself and for your family as well.
So that was my master's degree. And honestly, I didn't really when I went to get that master's degree, I was more so thinking in terms of, I need to be on a different salary schedule. So let me go back to school.
This ain't enough. I need more.
I was like, this is not going to work. And then I said, well, because I had asked some people, I was like, well, I need to go get my master's. What should I get it in? And the advice pretty much was, well, the best thing to get it in is leadership, because that's the only thing that could actually lead to promotion. Every other thing is kind of like, okay, you can be a teacher, but a different type of teacher. You might be a reading specialist, or you might be a curriculum specialist. So I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. If I want to be in leadership and, start doing some things, I would at least have the degree. So that was that. And it was exciting, but I'll be honest, it was kind of like, okay, I'm just here to do what's supposed to be done.
Yeah.
It was really the doctor degree that was more meaningful for me, because of all that I went through to get it, and knowing that I don't have to even do this. Like, I can quit. It's okay. Like, it's plenty of people in education who don't have a doctor degree, and I knew that wasn't going to make me necessarily more effective at what I was. I had already done some pretty decent work and knew, okay, yeah, I kind of am supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be doing this. So I knew that I was going to be successful in the field and continue to be successful. So I didn't necessarily need the credential, but so that one it mattered a lot to me. And I really wanted to get that doctor degree completed, because I do believe my next big step is consulting. And I wanted to make sure I had that credential in place, because I do think things like that are important, especially when you hire somebody to help you problem solve a situation. Oh my goodness. That was the bachelor's degree. Now that one was huge. I remember, like I said, I changed my major like 50 million times. And I didn't know if I was going to fit. I didn't know if I was going to get a degree. I was the first person in my family to graduate from college.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's something that no one can take away right there.
But it was a lot of pressure that came with that, especially as I was encountering like struggles and challenges in school, I was just like, well, maybe I'm not the one to change the trajectory for our family. Maybe that just ain't mine. Maybe somebody else need to do it. Let me lob it to my sister or somebody. Maybe it's just not for me. So to actually get that completed, and then that year that I graduated, my grandmother had passed like the year before. And I remember when she got sick to the point where she really couldn't eat. She was at home before we finally took her to the hospital. But she was at home, and I was skipping class to go sit with her during the day. I was supposed to be in a class, but I was like, this is not looking good for my grandmother. I'm going to go sit over here with her and let the chips fall where they may. But I remember one of those days that I was sitting over there, just sitting with her, talking to her, because I knew it was not going to be too much longer. She said to me, make sure you finish school.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, yep, all gas, no brakes. And I went to school, kept going to school, and I graduated that next year after she passed. And then I kept going and I kept going. And her voice is always with me because as she was nearing the end of her life, she took the time to say to me, I just want you to make sure you finish school.
And that's crazy because I was going to ask you, who would you say was that person that where you got that drive from to just keep on going?
Yep. That would be her. I've always, I mean, for even though I do my little stuff, and I'm sure I was not a perfect child, my mom will tell you, I've always though wanted to make my family proud.
Yeah.
That's always been a thing in the back of my mind. I just think that that's one of the best ways you can honor the effort, the sacrifice, and the work that they put into you as an individual is by doing things that will make them proud and make them see the value in all that they've invested in you as a human and a person. And so I've just always wanted to, if I don't do nothing else, I want to make sure I can stand on my own. I can bring some achievements, some accolades home that my family can, be proud of.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm definitely sure that they are like, yeah,
I hope so.
that's my baby girl. Yeah, we
I
know
hope so,
her.
because I'm dealing with a whole lot trying to make sure. No.
Yeah. I feel you. So once again, this was the educator, the doctor portion of the show. Right now, Smoooth Conversations. Once again, I am Smoooth. That is Smoooth with 3 O's. And we have Dr. Tiffany Patton. Once again, scan the QR code on the top right of your screen and connect with yours truly. Everything about Smoooth Productions is right there beyond the QR code. So go ahead, scan it, and show love for yours truly. As we continue on, let's have some fun. I put this together for you.
Oh man, there's some more stuff.
Oh yeah. So
I thought I was about to be let off the hook.
So I mean, we got serious over the last, half an hour in regards to education and everything, but I put some posts together because over the years, not saying I was stalking anything, but over the years, you be leaving some interesting posts that get a lot of conversations going in the comments, right?
Yes, I know.
Yeah, she like, oh boy, what about? So,
and not on purpose. I'm always shocked, like, oh my God, right. People are talking.
But the people, they catch on, and it's like comments after comments. And then one particular subject came to mind. So I had to put this up. So you see this photo.
Oh my Lord.
Let me know your thoughts on this.
This is a whole setup. It's so funny that you would show this because I just randomly was watching documentaries on Amazon Prime and they brought up, because it'll keep rolling on Amazon Prime if you watch what you selected. And so they started showing the documentary of Michael Jackson and while he was preparing for his last concert before he passed. And I said to myself, I need to stop, being so wrong towards Michael Jackson.
Because when I say people, because even you and I went back and forth years back, because we know your love.
Prince Rogers Nelson.
There we go. We know your love. Yes. And you said that you did go, or you try to go to his house?
I've gone to Paisley Park. I need to go back. I need to go back.
Okay.
That's kind of like my sabbatical trip that I took. It's a very nurturing, spiritually fulfilling experience for me. I need to go back.
Yeah. Now, what I will say, in which I give credit to, is how incredible Prince is because he can do so many different things, which I feel MJ could do too if he wanted to. Like in regards to playing guitar or being on drums.
Here's where the delusion comes in.
See, there we go. See, I know.
And this is why I have these conversations.
I know that MJ could do this, but because he has so many other skills that he was already showing, he didn't really have to. It was like, you know what? I'm cool. You know what I'm saying? Is
that what you tell
I'm
yourself?
good. Okay. Oh no, that's what it is.
It's always interesting to listen to the narratives that people tell themselves.
Try and school. No, but like I said, both incredible artists.
I agree.
I don't have no shade on Prince at all. You know what I'm saying? Incredible. It's just that my dude, since I was a little kid, was MJ. So I'm always ride with MJ. You know how people ride with Michael Jordan over LeBron, kind of thing,
as
whatever.
They should. Yes,
right, exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So like that's just, MJ is my dude. But then you did bring out some great points years back about what Prince does and everything else that he can do in regards to just how talented this man is. But what was it about him that made you fall in love with Prince?
I'm gonna answer that question, but first I'm gonna just talk about like the battle between the two of them and why I do think I gravitate and ride for Prince so much harder. And I think that documentary that I saw last night really brought it home for me when I saw Michael Jackson practicing for his last concert. I feel like the industry broke Michael Jackson in a way that they tried to break Prince, but he didn't allow it. Mm-hmm. And I think that tenacity is what I gravitate towards more and what makes me settle so much more on him, because I feel like that's kind of how I want to be. Like, there'll be many attempts to break you down, and you gotta be able to withstand and still be who you are. And I feel like Prince never lost who he was.
And I can see that. I can see that because like I think about how Michael is super, super sensitive. Mm-hmm. And like you said, Prince, as you was talking about it, I can see him being like, and I'm gonna still do my thing.
Absolutely.
No matter, you know what I'm saying?
He's literally started calling himself the artist one year and literally was going against the whole Universal Music. Like, that's huge. These are the kind of people that, and I'm not gonna get into that conspiracy theory because this is being recorded, but the industry, these kind of people that can take you out in a heartbeat. So for him to be that solid on his convictions and who he is to go against the entire record label like he did, that takes a lot of courage. And while they're both super talented, I just feel like I don't like the way the industry did Michael Jackson. And I feel bad for him because I feel like he wasn't able to really withstand and stand against that pressure. They both ended up in this literally almost passing the same type of way. So they both ended up succumbing to whatever, those pressures led to. But I feel like Prince carried his a lot better and more so in a way that I would aspire to. But I also think his music, and that connects to why I like his music better. I feel like it's more of a representation of him and his genius and just the sound that he created. I mean, you can still put, and I won't say it was all him, but a lot of it was him. Michael Jackson made great music, but Michael Jackson was also the product of amazing producers. Prince, his sound, the things that he was doing was literally all of his genius. I won't say all, predominantly a lot of his vision and his genius. And so I just feel like his music is more of a representation of his unique gifts and talents. And it was incredible. It hit at the same, I won't say the same level of success. So if we look at the numbers, we know Michael Jackson was technically more successful than Prince numbers wise, but the notoriety that he gained from being pretty much 100% himself and creating his own sound and doing his own thing in an era where he could have played more of a safe route. He could have just brought in a bunch of $1 million producers to do his work for him and just roll from that. That's everything I ride for. So that's my guy. That's why I got this tattoo.
Did you see the Netflix documentary of the Real of the World?
I saw bits and pieces of it. I feel like they were talking about Prince because he didn't show up.
Exactly. Yeah. Because and I want to say it was because he knew that MJ was there, and like to me, so definitely watch it. But to me, of course, it was the rivalry. It is what it is. But could you just imagine if they were able to make music together and how great that would have been?
I can, but I think that goes against the very thing I like about Prince. Like, Prince is going to stand on what he thinks is what he wants to do. Prince is going to stand on 10 toes behind Prince.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I think that's why. And I think he felt like Michael Jackson was a compromiser. And so in order for him to draw the line in the sand, that means I'm not going to collaborate. And I don't think it was just Michael Jackson. I think Prince didn't collaborate with anybody he felt like was a compromiser.
Right.
Exactly. That's just how, and it was just more so like even Michael Jackson. I'm not going to compromise what I think music should sound and be like and what production should be just to work with somebody because they're famous and very talented. And so even down to him not showing us, we are the work.
Yeah, because they said that he was actually en route. He was actually coming, and then he just last second like, "No, you know what? I'm good.
But see, I love that because it's
I'm
real.
Head somewhere else and chill at a club and drink until 5 a.m, whatever.
Prince is a king, queen, whatever you want to call it, of shade. Like he invented shade. You can't get shade that's harder than whatever Prince would give.
Yeah.
So, but he was so authentically himself, and that's the kind of stuff that I love. I'm not a pretentious person. I don't like pretension. So, yeah, that's my guy.
Got you. So let's continue on, and once again, going back to similarities, how we love great DJs.
Absolutely, love music,
and I can't think of no other two but to have these two shown right here.
Aww. Yes, those are giants in the St. Louis community. Yep. There's a couple more I will put up there, but yes, those are.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, shouts out. And I chose those as well because, once again, I'm a DJ as well, and those were my influences locally.
Yeah.
Was Needles, Biko, and Charlie Chan soprano. Where Charlie Chan did our wedding reception.
Oh, nice.
And Biko, when he was Needles back in the day, he did my birthday party.
Needles.
Yeah.
Every time I say
yeah.
What's up, Needles?
But no, just what the impact that these two DJs and so many others have done has just been amazing. Legends.
Absolutely. And it's my hope that they will one day, and I think Chan has gotten some of that, but it could be more. They will one day get the national notoriety that they deserve. Because I just, the things that Biko, like I've been DJ Needles. I've been rocking out with DJ Needles for years. Yeah. Like you said, 20 years ago. Yeah. I remember being at Lola, and he used to host, resident DJ there all the time.
609.
Yes. Back to the 609 days. Yeah. He had them locks in, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I just remember, and just to hear the way his sound, if you go down to Sophie's now in present day and you listen to his sets, just to hear the way his sound has evolved is crazy. And I think that, I don't know if a lot of people in our generation realize how much evolution he has experienced as an artist.
Yeah.
Because when I went down to hear him in Sophie's, like last year, that was probably like my first time. I hadn't been down. I knew he was doing Saturday DJ, resident spot there on Saturday, but I just had not been down there. And I went down, I was like, what? Really? Like he's doing some out the box just spectacular stuff. Like, so I highly recommend, if you haven't heard him DJ in a while, check him out on Saturdays at Sophie's, because it is definitely a different, still that same high quality vibe, but it's a different vibe. He's evolved as a DJ. And then Charlie Chan is just so crazy with the mixing.
Yeah.
I just, like, he been out of here. I don't know why it's taking the time it's been taken for him. He is DJing for DMC, so he gets some of that national notoriety, but man, it should be more.
Yeah. And it just shows how talented we got here in St. Louis.
Absolutely.
Man. It's so much talent down here that, you know, it, like you say, it is overlooked. Mm-hmm. And like you said, needs to have more of that notoriety going on in the world. This next person here, I'll show this photo, and I know you might faint when I show this photo.
Oh, whatever. I was about to say it must be not Steer Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember, when did I develop such a strong liking for him to like put him as my number one? I want to say, honestly, it was during that whole Jay-Z and Nas battle. I just appreciate. I mean, he was already in my top 5 because I don't care if he makes nothing else. Like, Illmatic is just an amazing classic. It tells a story of a culture that I grew up in, that we all kind of saw front and center. These different elements start to develop around us with the explosion of drugs and gangs and all of this stuff. And I feel like his album Illmatic really captures that moment perfectly. It needs to be like in historical archives in the Smithsonian or something like that. So if he never makes anything else, he's always going to be my dude just for that, because he captured the culture in a way that will forever live. But the way he handled that battle, well, first of all, he blew Jay-Z out the water lyrically. That's first and foremost. Secondly, just the classiness of it, the way he handled it was so, it was like, listen, I'm on top. I know I'm on top. I really ain't got to prove this to you. And that was his swag throughout the whole thing. And so I was just like, yeah. And then the way he samples some of the older, like really soulful music to rap over, or the way his producers do is dope to me. And then I think it's Hit Boy that he's been collaborating with for these last couple. Yeah, that's been dope and off the chain to watch his development and evolution and growth there. So yes, that's my one. I was just thinking the other day, I got to figure out when to get back to another Nas concert, because I don't think I've seen Nas live in about 2-3 years. Because
the last one I think was when he was at the amphitheater.
Yeah, that was, and the pandemic happened, so a lot of people fell out. But yeah, I was like, I gotta find him somewhere so I can travel, because I like to see Nas every year now.
So as you brought up the whole Jay-Z and Nas thing, was it weird for you when you saw those two starting to collab and doing songs together? You know how you said, it kind of like how you brought up Prince and MJ, and then what if they did, but I'm glad, you pretty much saying you're glad that they really didn't, because Prince pretty much stood on business. But when Nas, I'm saying, him and Jay-Z came together and started doing music together, what was your thoughts after the beef and everything?
Yeah, I didn't really see that as an issue. I feel like that still fit his character, because I don't think it was ever Nas's intention to have a rap battle with Jay-Z. I honestly feel like that was more of Jay-Z's lean, and I can't remember how it started, but I just remember in earlier songs, music that Jay-Z would make, he would allude to being the best rapper, and there became this focus on who's the king of NYC. And I feel like a lot of that was driven by, because, Jay-Z has a lot of bravado. Like, he does a lot of, talking. And so I think that was more so his thing than it is Nas. Because I can't recall Nas getting into, has he had other rap battles?
Not that I can recall.
Yeah. So I don't think that just, to me, was never, I don't think Nas is the type of rapper who needs to pick a battle with. To me, he is more of a one love type person. Yeah. Like, we all in this together. We all in the game. Like, I don't see him as being the type to shun. Like I said, Prince is the king of shade. Like, that's just, that's him. That's him being him. And I appreciate authenticity. And so I think Nas collaborating with Jay-Z just speaks to, I would expect that, because I think that's the type of person he is.
Got you. What are your thoughts right now with what's going on with Kendrick Lamar and Drake and possibly Lil Wayne?
Oh my God. So, well, first of all, I think it's bringing a revival of like real rap.
Hip hop, yeah.
Yes, back that the hip hop heads and us, like older people, not old people, just older. Right. Can appreciate, because that's kind of like, that's what we know hip hop to be about, bars, about, you know, competing. And so I'm enjoying that piece. I don't like the fact that Drake
suing.
Correct. That's very corny. And I'm trying to figure out, like, why has Drake has been doing a lot of light skin stuff. Like, I know I consider myself to be yellow. I ain't light skin, I'm yellow. But he has just been doing
he been whining, complaining, everything.
And even before Kendrick, like, he came at, I think it was J. Cole. He came at Pusha T, which is a no. Like, I don't rep for Pusha T like I do for Nas, but lyrically, that he is tough. Like, he's really, really good. He just raps about the same stuff and has content that doesn't translate well into radio music, but his ability to create metaphors and put string lines together is crazy. And so I'm just like, I'm trying to figure out, what is Drake doing? Is he tired of paying the streaming services to play his music all day? He trying to get attention? Like, it just feels real needy.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, he goes and endorses Sexy Red. And I'm like, what is wrong with Drake? I just don't. It's just been a lot of moves that he's made that has made me feel like he is really tripping. Like, dude, you had a very long string of number one hit records, like probably the past, 10, 15 years? Drake has had a hit record every year. Like, he can just go sit down and retire. Like, why are you, I don't understand. Yeah. But in terms of what it's doing for Kendrick, I appreciate it, because I think it's putting him on a platform he might not have ever gotten had Drake at the status that he's at come at Kendrick and elevated his audience to what he has elevated it to. And also, it's just super funny every time you hear Not Like Us on the radio being nominated for a Grammy. Now it's going to be at the Super Bowl.
And Drake all in his feelings.
That's a shame. Can you imagine if that was you?
Yeah.
I don't think a diss record has ever performed in that way. I don't think anybody expected that to go that far. Like, he lit 5 Grammy nominations on a diss record. That's terrible. That's a bad note to go out on.
So that was the fun side, the entertainment side of Dr. Patton. Let's talk about Dr. Patton, the sister, and how much it means to you to be that big sis.
Oh boy. It's funny because I reposted a quote the other day that said the strongest man in the family is the firstborn daughter. Strongest man. And I thought that was funny because I've always, as a firstborn daughter, and we have an 8-year difference, I've always felt the need to be more parental than sisterly. So I think that was kind of like one of my first experiences with, I don't necessarily want to say mothering, but knowing how to look after other people. And I carry a lot of that into my work as an educator. Like, a lot of my students definitely, you know, I treated them like, you're my kids, or I'm the big sister in the room. Like, that was definitely my energy with my students. And it was effective because I had great classroom management, great classroom culture. My kids always learned. They trusted me to teach them. And so I think a lot of that I was able to experience being a big sister with an 8-year difference. I literally remember changing her diapers and warming up her bottles to help my mom.
She probably watching this like, oh Lord, why she got to put it out there?
She probably gave you those pictures. That's who I'm suspecting it came from.
She has solved the clues.
That's okay. I'm gonna find
the mystery.
I will find out.
But yeah, and then I saw this photo. I was like, because I think your caption was like, "Or Saints days or whatever." But I saw it, I'm like, yeah.
Now who sent? Now you got to tell me who sent you. Only 2 people had that picture, and I know you didn't get it from one of them. So she sent it to you.
No, a third. Social media.
Is it on social media? I didn't put that on social media. No, I didn't. Wait, see, now somebody's fabricating. Somebody fabricating. That can't be on social media. That was so long ago. I think I was 22. I was still an undergrad.
Going to, what'd you say? What do you have in the caption? Saints or
Tyler Lock-In or whatever. I think we were just having a photo shoot. That was when you had the throwaway cameras.
Yeah,
so you couldn't see what your photo looked like until you took it to the Walgreens and they delivered your photos. And then you only had 2 or 3 that you wanted to keep out of the whole 20 pictures.
Yeah.
And that was one of them that made the cut.
It said made the cut.
And actually, that was my birthday. I don't know if you can see, there's a cake sitting on that table.
Oh, okay.
Behind there. Yeah, that was I can't remember which one. But that was my birthday.
And I can't recall which birthday it was, but you invited me to go. You had the event at a spot in oh Lord, what's the area called? Oh, it was a cool little spot in Clayton.
Yeah, Roxanne's.
Yeah,
That was my 30th.
That's what it was.
Yes, 30th. That was a great night. I'll never forget that night.
Yeah, that was fun. That was dope. Let's see here.
You in these pictures.
Yeah.
This is terrible.
The evolution.
So that was a family reunion. I can't remember which one. I was young. I was so young then. I was definitely in my 20s. Yeah, we were at a family reunion. I wasn't the dance floor queen at that time anymore because I was an adult. So I was trying to be sophisticated.
Right. Trying to calm it down a little bit.
Right.
Yeah,
they get no more free entertainment out of me.
I got you. But just as we transition from the sister, but talking about just being the daughter of Reverend Patton.
What can I say? I think my mother is a great compliment for me. I know for a fact I wouldn't be as comfortable in who I am and as secure with being myself if I didn't have the type of mother that I have. She's very, and now don't get me wrong, she's a Scorpio too, like we are. So she got her little controlling ways, but for the most part, she's real laid back. And I was always allowed to express myself. I was always allowed to think independently. I've had conversations with my mother about everything from different religions to, is God really real? And how do you know Jesus exists? And we've talked about Islam. We've talked about Buddhism. I've had some really I don't want to say challenging, but out of the box conversations with my mother. And I can do that because she's open and receptive to other people's thoughts and opinions. She's not one of those people who is so religious and set in her ways and set in her mindset that everybody has to think like she thinks, or everybody has to agree with her. And I appreciate that a lot about her, because it allows me to also maneuver in that way, which opens you up for meeting more diverse people, having more diverse conversation, and thinking more critically, honestly. And so I think, having been raised by her, I feel like, and she'll tell you this, I think she's my sister. I treat her like she's my she's my sister. Tanya was my daughter, and I guess Essie Patton was my mother. I guess is how we could arrange that. But I think that says a lot about her, though, as a mother, that I can feel like I can come to her as a sister, or I can come to her as a daughter, because she has made the situation that comfortable, where I feel like I can talk to her about anything.
Mm-hmm. That's what's up. So shouts out to her.
Absolutely.
Yeah, much love. So we talked about you as I mean, we broke it down so far. It's been amazing. The younger version, high school, grade school, the whole nine. The teacher, educator, getting all the degrees out there that mankind's ever came out with. She got, and still going for more. The sister, the daughter. Let's talk about the realtor. What made you get into that field?
Oh, that's a good question. So I have always wanted to look into different routes to build, or I've always been interested in different routes to build generational wealth. And so a couple of years ago, I just started coming across different pieces of information about investing, and the real estate industry being one of the most stable ways to build generational wealth. Because when you think about it, as long as you're making the right decisions about the property and stuff that you purchase, the value typically just goes up for real estate. We do see some depreciation in some areas, but again, that's about reading the market. But for the most part, usually whatever you pay to purchase property or a house or a building or whatever, it's going to increase. The cost of it is going to increase as the years go by. And so that, coupled with the experience of buying a house some years ago, my first house, I really enjoyed the process. I did a lot of research to help me with my decision making. And I feel like one of the things that always drives me to do stuff is feeling like I can help other people. And so I felt like, the things that I've learned and the ways that I've been able to capitalize on this knowledge, I think will be helpful for other people. Because the house that I ended up buying, I'll never forget, when we first went to go see the house, my real estate agent at the time, she said, this is $20,000 out of your max. So she was like, why are we here? And I told her then, I said, I did some research. I've been looking at how the property has been moving. I've been looking at how long it's been on the market. And mind you, this is my first house. I said, I think that it's going to go into a range where I can afford it. And so she said, okay. And so we went and saw it. And maybe about 3 months later, they finally dropped it. Probably, I want to say, what was it? $20,000 thousand below where it was when we went to go see it. And I put my offer in immediately. And I was able to get the house for probably, I want to say it appraised for about $15,000 more than what I actually paid for it. And that's my first house right out the gate. And so that also made me feel like I have a certain understanding, just a natural understanding of the housing market and how to buy properties and how to find properties that people want. Because I was very stringent about what I chose. So it took me a while to purchase a house. And I felt like my real estate agent probably did get a little bit frustrated with me, but I was making sure everything, like when you asked me earlier today, like about what area do I live in, I was like, I'm about to close to the highway. That was on purpose. That was something I knew I needed to make sure was true. And so I just needed to make sure I checked off all my boxes while also still getting an amazing deal on a house that's now worth, I think, about $100,000 more than what I bought it for. And so, yeah, it's a new venture for me. So I'm just getting started, just started in June. And it is a lot more work than what I anticipated. And so but it keeps me engaged because I do have an interest in learning the market and helping other people access homes. Because the other thing that people don't understand, like when the pandemic happened, because I was a homeowner, I was able to navigate that situation so much easier than renters. And then even too with like what's happening with rent and rental properties, people going up on rent like astronomical prices, requesting 2 and 3 months rent up in advance, forward in advance, making you have a stellar credit score just to rent a property that's not even in a stellar community or in stellar condition. Like when you're a landlord, you can do these things and you can manipulate the game. Whereas on the flip side, for homeowners, they were throwing relief funds at us. They were like, do you have a problem paying your mortgage? Here's this loan. Here's this loan that you don't even have to pay back. And they were just throwing money at people. Like I remember they would send me a notification, like in my with my regular mortgage statement, it would be a leaflet in there that was talking about, do you need relief funds? Have you had issues? Almost like you wanted me to say, I need money to pay my mortgage, because they were just trying to find people to give money to. Whereas on the other side, you have renters who are getting evicted because they can't afford to pay their rent, and you have no recourse. And so I just think too, in our community, a lot of us struggle to understand the access that home ownership gives you and how easy it is to do. There's lots of programs that can assist with down payment. We look at it and we think, oh, I need so much money just to buy a house. I know people who have come out purchasing houses and have gotten money because of the different programs with down payment assistance and all types of income-based programs that people can qualify for. Or people who have come out buying houses and only had to pay a couple $1,000s, not 20%. And so I think that the misinformation that a lot of us hold on to in our community keeps us from accessing a wealth building tool, which I do real estate can be. And even if you don't want to use it for wealth building, you don't want to do investment properties, just having your own property is a huge game changer. Just the equity alone. Like I just said, my house is worth $100,000 more than what I paid for it, on top of what I've paid into it for equity and whatever I put down. That's money that if any time, if I need to cash in on that, I can loan against that, or I can use it to enhance the property and make it worth more money. Right. It's just so many different things that, we just don't realize we can have access to. And so I'm looking forward to the real estate piece as just a way to help me start to help others get into the industry, get into the game, get into homes, but then also to help me begin to build a portfolio of investment properties.
Yeah, because I was going to say, man, it being in real estate over the last few years, for what I've been seeing, it's really being one of those like trending things to do. Mm-hmm. Like I've been seeing a lot of people just, I'm gonna get into real estate. Like one of my Smoooth Productions fam, Sadal, he's one of his monikers is Sadal the Investor. So like he's getting to it now. He says that he wants to really put himself out there more. You know what I'm saying, in regards to being an investor and really getting into the real estate market even more, because he's been getting into it over the last few years, probably say about maybe 4 or 5 years now, but he feel like he hasn't all the way just put himself out there more. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So with that being said, what would you say about that fine line with stepping out on faith?
In terms of that business?
Yes.
I think that, and that's definitely a thing for me. Like right now, I'm just a part-time real estate agent. I still have a full-time job in the education system. And so I think for me, stepping out on faith, you have to have criteria that indicates, okay, I'm ready. And so you have to know what that amount is that you need your business to generate in order for you to do it full time, or for you to invest a certain amount of money in. And you have to know how many sales you need to hit, like what your goals are. I do recommend that you be calculated about it. I don't think anybody wants to invest in a venture that you then end up losing money. So you have to do your research. You have to do your due diligence and make wise decisions, which may appear risky to others, but it needs to be calculated by you. And I think that God honors that too. I think in a lot of situations, if we pray and we ask God for confirmation, or we ask God, well, I need this, I need that, blah, 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 blah. He creates the environment that you need in order to do whatever it is that is next for you. I do think that we serve a God that will do that. I don't think God wants you to just willy-nilly do something. Right, you don't have no confirmation,
and then turn around and you want to blame God.
Exactly. Now you mad.
Yeah. Oh, God don't love me. He favors everybody else
Set
but
me up
me.
for failure. Right. So yeah, I think yeah.
So I mentioned this on a previous show, but one of my wife's pet peeves about St. Louis, because you are into real estate, is she can't stand to see so many vacant buildings around this city.
Yeah.
I mean, it is so many vacant. I mean, it's been vacant for over 10 years. Like, no one has touched it or demolished it. It's just still there. It's a bad look. Yet you're seeing this area growing where back then it was nothing, but now it's elevating. You got this area over here that's doing this, but you're still seeing so many spots, even in a downtown area or heading into downtown, so many vacant spots. So with you get into real estate, what goes on through your mind when you see so many vacant buildings that can either be something or at least just be taken down?
Honestly, it's sad to me to see, especially my mind goes automatically to North City. I remember actually, it's funny that you asked that, because I would say maybe about a month ago, I was coming from 70, and I decided to drive through the city to get down to Central West End. So I drove through all of, that Kings Highway area where you have all of these different side streets. And I remember as I was trying to get to whatever street I was trying to get to, I was driving through Delmore and some streets right off of Delmore. And I'm looking at these houses that just were, oh my God, like full brick, huge houses, completely vacant, empty, dilapidated, because they're in that area that has been abandoned that no one wants to live in. But I remember looking at the property thinking that could easily be a $900,000, $1 million house right now if it was built in the right place and someone still lived in it and they were maintaining it, just by the integrity of if a house like that with that much brick in it and that much square footage, you know how much that would cost you today? And it's literally, I'm just driving past several houses like that in North City, just sitting there. It's
crazy.
And it's beyond crazy, because obviously the property is valuable, but no one wants it. And it's bizarre. It's just it's so wasteful and disheartening to see gorgeous, beautiful, high, like great quality homes. And sometimes you go in these homes and they have these gorgeous wood staircases just rotting because people have now decided, oh, we don't want to live in that area anymore. Right. So we're going to go out 20 miles west and build another house that's not as that's going to you're going to get less quality, because all that brick, no, it's going to get less quality and probably pay more just because you don't want to live in that area anymore.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's disheartening. And my pastor, David Hawkins, he was preaching a couple weeks ago, and he talked about how St. Louis Business Journal released an article recently that talked about St. Louis being one of the top 10 worst cities for economic development. And that speaks to me what you're talking about, the fact that we do have so many vacant buildings because they're in certain neighborhoods where people don't want to invest, or we've created this mindset around those neighborhoods and now no one wants to live there, or we didn't put proper policing in place, and so it became so crime ridden that it was no longer safe to live there. And so all of these things that we still grapple with in this area in terms of segregation, racism, sexism, all of these different things that we still battle with in St. Louis hold us back as a community. And we have not gotten to the point where we are more interested in the development and the forward progress of our city, that we're going to now take down those barriers and do more work towards integrating. We are very set on holding on to our isms, and you stay over there. This is for that type of people.
The Hatfield
what high school did you go to? Exactly. We do a lot of that. And once certain people start showing up at a business, other people stop coming. And then and you watch it happen all the time. And it's like, man, why can't we? Is there a place where we can all just hang out and it's okay?
Right.
Or is there a place where we can all just live and it's okay?
Yeah.
But it's not. Once the percentage starts to get a little bit too high of a certain group of people, then another group of people leave. And that's the constant pattern in St. Louis, and it holds us back.
Yeah. Yep. It's sad. So, as we are closing on this wonderful conversation with the one and only Dr. Tiffany Patton, it's been long, but it's been great. You know what I'm saying? Very informative, because you just never know who's watching.
Yeah.
And there could be someone that's going down a similar path, and they're seeing your story, they're seeing what you're doing, and it can inspire them to be like, keep going, like your grandmother used to tell you.
Yes.
Finish it.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Finish the job. So hopefully this will help you along your way down your journey as well. But once again, we discuss the youthful Dr. Patton, choir director, singer, daughter, sister, loving entertainment, loving the nightlife, being a realtor, getting all the degrees that man has ever decided to create.
That. You're so funny. No, I do not have all the degrees.
But with that being said, another moment, another part of you that I know means so much while you're doing all those things is, of course, being a mother.
Yes, I was waiting for this one.
Yes, you already know what's coming. So talk about that feeling of just,
oh man,
being a hero.
Well, right now, I wish she was still that size. Right now, she's an adolescent, so I'm like, tag, somebody else got to be it, because I cannot do that.
I had my run.
This is somebody else's turn, but I tell people all the time, because I used to think I didn't need to have my own kids because I work in education. So I'm like, I'm good. I've dealt with kids all day. They've filled my bucket. They've emptied my bucket. So I'm ready to just go home and be me and do me. But when I finally became a mother, I realized that the love that you feel for your child is like nothing else. And so I would not have been able to experience that had I not actually become a parent. And I think it absolutely drives me to do all the things that I know need to be done, even when I don't feel like doing them, or even when I'm tired and want to lower the bar for myself. I think of her and the example that I have to set. And it makes me push forward. I think when I had her, I was 30, 31. And my 30s, in terms of like my career and finishing a doctorate degree, a lot of that was also fueled by, I know I gotta secure certain things so I can give her the access, the opportunity that she needs, so she can see the example in which to follow. And so it being a mom and having somebody look at you as an example, or having somebody watch your life play out in real time is a very humbling experience. And she's a big baby. But then also, just making the pressure of like, man, I want to make sure I'm not messing you up. Like I'm not doing anything wrong, and that you were able to be successful. It's a lot.
And talk about from your point of view, and which I have so much respect for mothers, because you do it all, and I always say, we ain't here. Men aren't here in this world without a woman. So talk about from your point of view being a Black mother in the society from the time she was younger to, of course, now.
I think that for her, I think the whole concept of being a Black mother probably shows up the most challenging in the context of school and advocating for like your kids and talking to teachers and talking to people like that. And maybe even like the medical environment as well, because I think those are places where you are very cognizant and aware of how you show up because of the perception that people will have of you, because their perception of you is going to come out in how they treat your child. And so I think that I am fortunate in a sense that because I am an educator, I am able to show up in those spaces, and I am respected by her teachers, her principals, her doctors, the people that deal with her when I'm not around. I'm able to, because of my background, I'm able to command their respect. And I think it helps a lot because I ask the questions. I know what the questions are to ask, and I ask them. I know what the data points are that I need to collect, and I collect them, and I have conversations, and I send the emails, and I talk to people. I'm not afraid to talk to people because I know I can.
That Prince mentality.
Whatever. I didn't say I throw shade. I just say I talk to people. I ask questions. So I think for me, I haven't really experienced much of mistreatment because I am a Black mother. But I will say it is constant pressure to make sure that she has experience and exposure in both communities of people who look like her, but then also people where she is the minority. So making sure she has that balance is tricky, and helping her understand. And I guess maybe this is where I should have went with that question first. Helping her understand the biggest part of being a Black mother that's been hard is helping her understand why we are treated like this as Black people in this country. Because as a child, you're a child. Like, you don't know the history. Mm-hmm. You have no idea why you're learning about Black people being slaves and all of this stuff, Black History Month, all of this stuff. They're coming into it brand new. We as adults, we reconcile, we understand it, but kids are being introduced to all of this stuff, and it's like, man, like, what is going on? Mm. So helping her understand and reconcile that, like with this last election, she was more impacted than I thought she would be. She's 11. But I remember the next day, she was, that night, she was asking about the results. And I was like, well, we'll find out in the morning, just go sleep. And so we get up the next day, and she came to me and was like, so Harris lost? And I said, yeah. And so I always make the joke that we're going to move to Ghana. And so I had told her the day before.
Ghana or Wakanda, something like that.
I had told her the day before, I said, well, if Trump wins, we're just going to move to Ghana. And so the next day when we found out that Trump won, she said, so are we going to move? And I was like, do you really want to move to Ghana? She was like, yes. And that was the first time that it hit me that okay, she's starting to grapple with the sexism, the racism, and the treatment that comes out of that, and trying to make sense of that and trying to understand that. And to me, that's the hardest thing as a Black mother, try to help your child understand why your child has to reconcile and be able to persevere through the mistreatment just because you Black and you a girl.
How often do you have engagements where you are talking to young ladies?
I honestly don't do that often, and to be even more honest, earlier this year, like in August, I started looking for like girls groups because I'm like,
I'm glad you brought that up.
Oh boy.
Because my beautiful wife, who is upstairs, she has a non-for-profit called Girls for Life.
Nice.
And y'all need to collab.
I would love to. Because I just was looking for my daughter because I'm like, where is the like girls empowerment sisterhood?
Yes. Y'all need to collab
for young Black girls because they need that.
Yeah, because as soon as you was talking, the question came to my mind, and then you said what you just said. I'm like, I got the perfect solution. So y'all need to collab and make it happen, because she always loved to have teachers and doctors and whoever else can talk to young ladies about girl empowerment, about becoming a woman, dealing with real life situations. So
that's great.
Yeah. So,
and I know a lot of them go through schools, but the challenge with that is if your kid doesn't go to that school, they don't have exposure to their program.
Exactly.
So it's hard to find programs that are just standalone where kids from all over the area can come together.
Yeah. So you definitely, after we're done, have to talk about that and get that going.
Definitely looking forward to it.
How about this moment? I thought this was pretty cool when I saw this. y'all doing emos
piece of photo shoot. So those are the cutest pictures. I literally have that picture in my office. But her godmom, Danielle Little, she's a cubicle chick. She's a very successful blogger. And she's been in the blog game for, I want to say, 10, 15 years. It's been a minute that she's been doing that. She was a full-time entrepreneur, but she's been working recently for Run for Women as their marketing director. But at that time, she was with Emos as their social media director. And they were looking for just everyday people to do shots for social media posts. And they were looking for families to feature. So she called and she was like, hey, I got this cool opportunity. Do you and Zari want to participate? I was like, of course we'll take pictures. And so we went to, that was actually one of the executives for Emos, or it might have been her direct supervisor, but one of the higher level position people. That was their house that we did the photo shoot in. It was around back to school. They wanted it to be school themed. And so it was a very fun experience. And I love that about her godmom. I feel like she, over the years, has always found like unique and cool things to expose her to. And this is just an example of one of them, because I mean, how many kids get to do a photo shoot for Emo's pizza?
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Then I recently saw this photo. I'm like, man, you talking about just seeing your kids grow up right in front of your eyes, but just seeing her.
Yes. And still a big baby. People just never know she's that big, because she still stays under me like she did at the other age. But yeah.
That's awesome. So the last question I have, well, two questions really, but one is, take away being a mother for a second, take away choir director, take away having all the degrees, take away being a principal, take away being a teacher, take away the nightlife. Who is Tiffany Patton?
I think the common thread through all of that is, and you didn't even mention my fashion blogging days, so you forgot about that part. So you missed something.
Stay tuned for part 2.
No. I think authenticity is, I think, at the core of me. Authenticity, social justice, and spirituality. I think those are the things that kind of comprise and show up in any of the other things that I do that you named, because that's important to me. It's important to me to know who I am, to continue to learn that, and to continue to learn what's important to me, and have the courage to stand on that and to do things that align to me, not what society deems I should be doing, or loved ones, or bills, all of that. I'm really in a space now where I'm like, okay, I've made some compromises on my peace and my impact for money, because you got bills and you got things you want to do for your children. And I'm in a place now where my prayer really is for it to be both. Like I think that you can have both the financial gain that you need, but then also not have to compromise on what matters to you and the impact that you're having, just to make a check. And so I think that's in social justice. I'm always about, I'm kind of glad I didn't grow up in the days of the Black Panther Party when it was first popping out.
Yeah.
I probably would have been right there scaring my mother to death.
So like, you going where?
Right. But I feel like, it's so many things. The world is a great place. Like, God is good, and we've all got things that we can be thankful for every single day. But I do think that we are here to help right some of the wrongs that are still like very much prevalent in our society. And so that's important to me while I'm here. It's got to be more than just, I took this great trip, or I have this great house, or I got this amazing car. Like, what am I doing to make the world a better place? And that's the social justice piece to me. And then underlying all of that is just like, okay, and that's been a journey I've been on recently too. Like, okay, God, what is your purpose for me? Like, I know what I've been wanting to do, and I definitely have been that person where I had like all my goals lined up and my 5-year plan and what I was going to do to get to this. I've done that. I've worked it. I know how to do that. I'm at a point where I don't want to do that anymore. I want to know, like, what is the perfectly aligned steps that God has for me, and for me to be okay with that.
Yeah.
It may not be as prestigious as I want it to be, or it may be, I don't know. But that's where I'm at now. Like, okay, actually, I just really want to do what God put me here to do, whatever that is.
So with that being said, with all the success that you've had in your life professionally, doing so many things, standing on business, being so successful in regards to your degrees and, everything that you've been a part of, do you find that as being a gift and a curse in regards to maybe, do you feel that in life your success has maybe intimidated men?
Say it again. Because I know you don't need me to answer that question. Oh my God. Woo. Yes, yeah. Yep.
And that's crazy because, like, when I first met my wife, when I started knowing what she was doing, I'm like, she about her business. Like, that was what attracted me to her, because that's what I prayed for. That's what I want.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep hearing these stories about women, successful women. I'm single still because I intimidate men. They don't want that. They want a woman who just whatever, but not having a backbone.
Mm-hmm.
So, so that's pretty much what you have been experiencing.
I have definitely experienced a lot of that, and even the comparison, the sizing up. Oh, okay,
right.
How much do you make? How much do I make? What your house look like? What your house look like? Right. That type of thing too is part of that too. Like passing that test, because I really haven't typically, like the men that I've talked to, they are like either right there with me or maybe a little bit below where I'm at in terms of income and house size and all of that stuff. And so, which is fine. I don't care. But I think men a lot of times get into their head and they start sizing up what you got versus what they got. And then they create this set of expectations in their head that they think you have. And a lot of that stuff gets projected onto you. And then too, so I deal with that part too. I think that's intimidating. And that men just kind of like do that to themselves. But it is a difference between, if you date somebody who, shops at the Tiffany and Company store, and you looking at that and you're like, okay, well, for her birthday, I got to do X, Y, Z. So that real like tension does happen. But then on top of that, when you're talking about ambition, that can become an intimidating factor for men too, because if you have someone who is constantly like working towards their next step or working towards their goal, that's a different type of companion than what I think men are prepared for, because and I'm just going to be 100% transparent. A lot of what I run into is, and this has been like the past couple years, men expecting women to be available and ready whenever they are available and ready. And I'm like, no, my day is just as busy, if not busier than yours. You can't just call me on a humbug like, oh, hey,
come on, let's go out.
No, I'm not. My day was planned yesterday. So, and that I get that tension a lot. And I think it's because, that dealing with someone who is that ambitious and that goal oriented, that like a lot of times I do take on more stuff than what I have time to do, because I'm always trying to work on certain, like right now I'm working on a certification. I need to be at home on my computer doing that. And so dealing with somebody who's constantly like pushing towards the next thing, I don't think a lot of men are accustomed to that. And so when you run into someone who operates like that and thinks like that, it can be intimidating in the sense that like, well, how do you navigate this woman who's now like not available? You got to make plans. You got to communicate in advance. If you want to spend time together, like that type of stuff is what I deal with more so in terms of intimidation. And it's funny because you hear a lot of men, the whole, oh, she got to have her own money. I don't want a woman that's broke and blah, blah, blah. But I don't see a lot of men who are prepared to deal with the nuance that comes from a woman who got all her own stuff and works and hustles to make sure that she can maintain a certain lifestyle on her own.
Got you. So lastly, do you have any special shout outs that you want to give to everyone who tuned in?
Well, I don't know who all tuned in, but I see the comments. And so, of course, want to shout out Corinthia Dixie. Dixie is, as I mentioned, she was my first AP. And she is just a wonderful high energy soul. She actually has her own educational consulting company based out of Atlanta as well, called Education Reconsidered. So she's branched off into full-time entrepreneurship in that space. She beat me to it, but I'm super proud of her because she's doing an amazing job. She's doing amazing work, and she's in Atlanta. She's in the Mecca, where our people are doing big things. And so super proud of her. Thank you for tuning in. And then Miss Carmen Baker Mays, she is a recent connection professionally, and we actually work together in the same school district right now, and I'm just amazed at the work she's doing. She's working with our MTSS program to implement it, creating it from the ground up, from scratch, and moving things along. And it's just not every day that you see somebody build a program from the bottom up and just go. She just goes. Every time we meet, every month we meet, she's pushing it a step further and a step further and a step further. So I'm so glad y'all could tune in. Those are two dope educators that I learned a lot from and am very humbled to be able to work with.
So, any advice to educators, teachers who may feel discouraged about what's going on now in society? They should just want to let them know.
Oh boy. I think the biggest thing is that we can't give up on education. We can't give up on kids because this really is the future. And so if those of us who know we have a passion for it, know we have a talent for it, don't stay and do it, who's going to do it?
Mm-hmm.
And what's going to happen to your grandchildren and your great grandchildren and so forth? And so hang in there. It's a lot of us, it's a community of us, and continue to advocate for change. I think a lot of times teachers they're on the front lines and they see the disconnect. They see why things aren't adding up and they see a pathway forward.
Mm-hmm.
So continue to advocate for the pathway forward. Continue to talk about the things that need to be changed and the things that need to be done, because your voice is super important. You do the work every day. So continue to speak up. Continue to be an advocate.
There we go. With that being said, Dr. Tiffany Patton, great job on Smoooth Conversations. I appreciate you.
Great having you on. It's been a long night.
Been a long one.
Yes.
But and sometimes there's certain questions that doesn't even come up until certain things are said, and it just comes up. And it's like, you got to talk about it.
You had 50,000 photos. You was locked and loaded.
I told you I'm good at what I do, and I got you. And you're going to be comfortable. You're going to be right. You're going to enjoy it. And I hope that this was a great way just to highlight what you do, give you your flowers. Because like I said, why wait till you can't even smell them?
Yeah.
You know, so
I appreciate it.
That's what this show is all about. And with that being said, thanks for tuning in, everyone, to Smoooth Conversations. Once again, scan the QR code, top right of your screen. I need everyone to subscribe to the page on YouTube. I need to get more subscribers tuned in, and to just check out the greatness that this show really does bring out. Have people come in and just be 100% authentic, vulnerable, emotional, the whole nine, but just keeping things 100 once again. And we hope that you enjoy the archives and this show and future shows coming up, because I got people lined up, y'all, right now to March. Like that's how great things are going, and I just want to continue to do my part and do the things that God wants me to do, and use my talents to provide an opportunity and a platform for others. So once again, scan the QR code, connect with Smoooth Productions. Anything and everything related to Smoooth Productions is right there. And stay tuned for the next episode of Smoooth Conversations. Also, throughout the next few days, you will be seeing some highlight clips from this conversation going on very soon. So stay tuned for that and much more. With that being said, y'all have a great rest of y'all evening. Smoooth Conversations, where the conversations are always smooth. Y'all have a good one. Peace.